Assassin's Creed. You can't deny that this series is one of the juggernauts of gaming. Almost everyone that has even touched a controller has most likely heard of this iconic franchise. It's set within various historical eras that mimic our own. These games let you play as assassins in historical fiction. They are part of a secret creed, a brotherhood that work in the dark to serve the light, trying to keep the people safe from the clutches of the Templar Order and make sure that we all have freedom. But in today's gaming era, this game series has lost quite a bit of its reputation. This is mainly due to the drastic shift in gameplay style and its unfortunate monetary practices in its single-player game. The open-world RPG games of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla deviate quite a lot from the core of what makes Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. Now, I personally did enjoy these open-world games, and honestly, I think Mirage is a great step in the right direction. But recently, I've seen some new discussions online that say Assassin's Creed was in fact never good in the first place, and it always was a very flawed blueprint. Well, I'm here today to challenge that thought. You know, it's been almost 2 decades since the original Assassin's Creed came out, and I think it's time to take a page out of Abstergo's book, visiting that very first game that dropped in the early 2000s. The one that started it all, and to this day, some consider it the perfect prototype for what Assassin's Creed should be. This is simply Assassin's Creed.
We've got a problem. I can't anchor him to the memory. Too much psychological trauma. He's rejecting the treatment, retreating.
Desmond, I need you to try and relax.
Let me try and stabilize him. We need to pull him out. Now.
All right, Desmond. We're going to try and bring you out now.
Okay?
I told you he'd be fine.
Bastards!
Now, I just saved your life.
Saved my life? You kidnapped me. You strapped me into that thing.
This is Desmond Miles, a bartender who was living a simple life until he was brought here. You see, there is something very special about Desmond Miles, and that is his DNA. His DNA traces his lineage back to some of the greatest assassins in history, who came into contact with some very powerful objects. This matters why? Because these people who have abducted Desmond want these artifacts, and they believe they'll find the location through genetic memories, which are... You know what? I'll just let him explain.
We'll start simple. What is a memory, Mr. Miles?
It's the recollection of a past event.
Specific to the individual remembering the event.
Yeah, sure.
What if I told you that the human body not only housed an individual's memory, but the memories of his ancestors as well? Genetic memory, if you will. I discovered something most fascinating. Our DNA functions as an archive. It contains not only genetic instructions passed down from previous generations, but memories as well. The memories of our ancestors.
And the Animus lets you decode and read these DNA files.
Precisely.
This is the reasoning behind the entire game, and honestly, it's a really cool concept. The idea that the knowledge of our ancestors is literally within us, and we can draw on that to find out information is incredibly cool, and all through the power of the Animus. Speaking of, it's time for the tutorial of the game. This tutorial isn't a rendered environment, but a space within the Animus itself. This whole section, showing you how to climb, fight, and walk around, really drills the fact into you that this is all a simulation of your ancestors. The fog and light blue and white make this entire situation feel very clinical. Even the UI adds to this. Health isn't health at all, it's how synchronized you are with your ancestor's memory. After all, your ancestor didn't die this way, so anything that causes his steps not to be retraced close enough can cause the animus to reset itself to a more stable point. This also helps explain why this is a video game and not a movie. You're not perfectly acting out what your ancestor did, this is a simulation first and foremost, in which when synchronized, draws out the memory of a certain moment in their life. After all, when you do something big, do you really remember the small details or how you got there or what you ate for breakfast that morning? You've got to fill in the rest of the gaps and hopefully it'll get to the memory you need. I just love this fascinating concept for a game. After learning about how to interact with the simulation, we are thrust into the most stable point in our ancestor's memory.
Wait! There must be another way. This one need not die.
An excellent kill. Fortune favors your blade.
Not fortune, skill. Watch a while longer and you might learn something.
Indeed. He'll teach you how to disregard everything the Masters taught us.
And how would you have done it?
I would not have drawn attention to us. I would not have taken the life of an innocent. What I would have done is follow the creed.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Understand these words. It matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way of—
My way is better.
It's here we are introduced to the other main character, Desmond's ancestor, Altair ibn La'ahad, a master assassin of the Creed. Seemingly brash and arrogant, you quickly see that his attitude is going to lead him to nothing but trouble as you work your way through this temple to encounter a major enemy. Altair goes against his creed, sees an opportunity to end things and tries to strike, and ends up getting separated from his brothers, and loses the treasure that they were down there looking for. Altair is now forced to return home to Masyaf and tells his master Al-Mualim the report of his failed mission. He lost the treasure, his comrades, and a major target had escaped. But at least Malik, one of the two, returns with treasure in hand.
Your arrogance nearly cost us victory today.
Nearly?
I've what your favorite failed to find. Here. Take it. Though it seems I've returned with more than just their treasure.
Master, we are under attack. Robert de Sable lays siege to Masyaf's village.
So he seeks a battle. Very well. I'll not deny him. Go. Inform the others. The fortress must be prepared. As for you, Altair, our discussion will have to wait. You must make for the village. Destroy these invaders. Drive them from our home.
It will be done.
We could already see Altair's actions causing a ripple effect, not just with the loss of a fellow assassin, but the entire town of Masyaf is now under attack from this group. This attack introduces to our first proper taste of combat, which, while it's quite basic, it's got a very satisfying feel to it. The original Assassin's Creed focuses very heavily on timing within combat. Fighting multiple enemies is a challenge for anyone, including Altair, so you gotta make sure you use the counter move a lot and try to attack when your sword hits the opponent to make a combo. It's very simple, very satisfying, and especially when you get better at timing, you really feel like you're just amazing at combat. After a few small fights against these people, they arrive at the gates. But Al-Mualim has a plan that involves Altair. By performing the leap of faith, they trick the enemy force into thinking that they sent 3 men to their death to show their prowess, when in reality, they attempt to land safely and launch a surprise trap.
Oh, my leg! Ah! Oh, my leg!
Quiet, or the Templars will hear us. I'll stay behind and tend to him. You'll have to go ahead without us. The ropes there will bring you to a trap we've set.
With Robert's forces pushed away, it's now time to deal with the real consequences of Altair's actions. His weapons are stripped from him, and so is his status and rank in the Creed.
Yet your selfish act beneath Jerusalem placed us all in danger. Worse still, you brought the enemy to our home. Every man we've lost today was lost because of you. I am sorry. Truly I am. But I cannot abide a traitor.
I am not a traitor.
Your actions indicate otherwise. And so you leave me no choice. Peace be upon you, Altair.
He's experiencing a far better adoption rate than the other subjects.
I'm still pulling him out. He's been in there way too long.
No, not yet. We're still so far from where we need to be.
We shouldn't risk it.
What's another hour or two?
Why don't we discuss this in the conference room? Give Desmond a minute to stretch his legs.
I really don't see the need.
Warren, please.
Fine.
Taking a short break from the Animus, we get to have a walk around this small area that Desmond now calls home. It's very clear that there isn't a way out. We do get to hear a conversation between this doctor and Lucy, his assistant, who seems apprehensive to let us stay in the Animus for too long, possibly due to some major side effects we don't yet know about. With no choice, we are locked in our room for a moment's peace before tomorrow, when it all begins again.
I am alive. But I saw you stab me. Felt death's embrace.
You saw what I wanted you to see.
Stripped of his rank, and somehow still alive, Altair is now reborn, and must relearn about what the Creed is, to earn his place yet again, by first of all, finding the traitor who helped Robert assault the fortress of the assassins. This section of the game also functions as kind of a tutorial for what you'll be doing when you are hunting your targets later in the game, gathering information. You'll do this through many different ways, such as eavesdropping, where you'll sit on a nearby bench and listen for more info. You'll also pickpocket things from people, and interrogations is also another tactic, where you'll follow someone to a secluded area and then get the information, in any way you can. With the traitor now dealt with, it's time for the real trial. 9 names, 9 people who attempt to strip the people of freedom and corrupt the world. By taking these 9 lives, we will slowly regain our gear, our rank, and according to Al-Mualim, ourselves. Our first target, Tamir, a black market dealer in the heart of Damas.
Inform the Rafik of your arrival. Speak with him. You'll find he has much to offer.
If you believe it best.
I do. Besides, you cannot begin your mission without his consent.
What nonsense is this? I don't need his permission. It's a waste of time.
It's the price you pay for the mistakes you've made. You answer not only to me, but all the Brotherhood as well now.
So be it.
Take your equipment and go. Prove that you are not yet lost to us.
Assassin's Creed is an open world game of sorts. You have 3 major cities, each with their own style. The first one we visit is Damas, and when you arrive, you're presented with an issue already. Guards at the entrance, with seemingly no way around them. You're now presented with your first decision as an assassin. How do you get past them? Do you fight your way through them? Climb over them maybe? Or maybe help someone who can get you inside, like some monks who are being targeted. Finding the stealthy approach to any situation, which there are multiple ways to do this, is very satisfying to accomplish, even though it's simple. There is something so cool about just blending into a crowd to gain entrance into a guarded city, and then slipping away at a moment's notice into a different crowd. I often think about the people who are around Altair in these situations, like the monks. Do they admire him, or fear him? Do they let him join them to face some unknown consequence later? Who knows? Once inside, it's time to track down some information on Tamir. We do this by synchronizing ourselves with the surroundings from high points. I'm assuming this is done for a couple of in-game reasons. Number 1, Altair actually did this to get a lay of the land and an idea of where to go. And 2, the Animus uses these high point references to scan for the memories of the investigation so that the user can find them easily. Either way, I really like the implications of these within the world of the Animus and Assassin's Creed. Despite the influence that these towers have had on open world game design, I think it's cool in concept. From here on, we can do some investigating, and doing these mini games in these major cities have such a great atmosphere to them. Listening to hushed conversations between alleyways, that tense moment of watching Altair's hand just out of reach of a pickpocket within a busy street, the interrogation of a speaker in an unknown part of the city. Sometimes you'll even get to assist other assassins by taking out targets stealthily or collecting flags within a set time limit, which are a blast to do, especially as you get more confident in your abilities and the mechanics of the game itself. All of these moments, while the information that you earn may be lost after the assassination or even after just a playthrough, the moment-to-moment parts of uncovering where your target is going to be are amazing pieces that actually make you feel you are tracking down your target and slowly zoning in on them. After finding out where our target will be and when he'll be there, it's time for a trip to the Assassin's Bureau, which is an outpost of sorts, letting the assassins rest out of sight, discuss tactics, and get approval to hunt targets. This is part of the major gameplay loop of Assassin's Creed. You'll enter a town, find the bureau to get some basic information on where you should search, synchronize the viewpoints in that area to find the investigation memories, which give the intel you need. You then bring this intel to the headmaster, who will give you approval, so long as you have decent enough information and an actual plan formed. With our first plan set, we are bestowed a feather of the eagle, which we must soak in our target's blood to prove that our mission is successful. All we have to do now is wait.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Arriving at the markets, we find Tamir in a heated discussion with a merchant, demanding more weapons. The merchant talks back and faces Tamir's wrath.
That you could produce weapons with the same skill as you produce excuses.
I have done all I can.
It is not enough.
Then perhaps you ask too much.
Too much? I gave you everything. Without me, you would still be charming serpents for coin. All I ask in return was you fill the orders I bring you, and you say I ask too much? You dare disrespect me?
Peace, Tamir. I meant no insult.
Then you should have kept your mouth shut.
No! Stop!
Stop? I'm just getting started.
No! Stop!
You came into my souk, stood before my men, and dared to insult me? Your place! No. Leave the body. Let this be a lesson to the rest of you. Think twice before you tell me something cannot be done. Now get back to work.
I'll kill you when I'm on the ground. Don't let anyone fool you.
Be at peace.
You'll pay for this. You and all your kind.
It seems you're the one pays now, my friend. You'll not profit from suffering any longer.
You think me some petty death dealer, suckling at the breast of war? A strange target, don't you think? Why me, when so many others do the same?
You believe yourself different, then?
Oh, but I am. For I serve a far nobler cause than mere profit. Just like my brothers.
Brothers?
Ah, but he thinks I act alone. I am but a piece. A man with a part to play. You'll come to know the others soon enough. They won't take kindly to what you've done.
Good. I look forward to ending their lives as well.
Such pride. It will destroy you, child.
After taking Tamir's life and that rather interesting discussion, it's time to make our escape, another crucial part of the original Assassin's Creed gameplay loop. Since finding groups are incredibly difficult, your best bet is always to run, which is where the parkour system of the game comes in. Altair can climb up pretty much anything, jump great distances, vault over surfaces, and descend down buildings to make sure he stays ahead of his enemy. Despite this system being old and heavily improved in later games, especially in the Ezio trilogy, I think there is a great feel to the parkour in the original Assassin's Creed. That is due to two things: momentum and control. In the newer games, parkour is very automated despite there being some pretty nice animations. You tap a single button and you're climbing up an entire mountain or vaulting the city. In the original Assassin's Creed, you really have to think about your button presses, as well as the actual pathway that you are taking to create some good distance between you and your pursuers. Ejecting from the wall sideways or backwards really helps keep your momentum as well, and you can also use it to trick enemies that are right behind you. This is something I absolutely love, and when you start to use it a lot, you really feel like you're getting a handle on the parkour system. If you put time into the movement system, learn the limitations of Altair, and try to find the best path in your own eyes, parkour will give you the most satisfaction out of any other part in this game if you put that time into it. Once we finally manage to lose the people chasing us, we return to the Bureau to report our success. And after resting for a while, we return to Masyaf to report our success to Al-Mualim, who in turn returns part of our gear to us, and sends us out to hunt our next target. This is the entire gameplay loop of Assassin's Creed. We receive our target, we enter the city, we gather information, we assassinate the target, and we escape. Yes, you will be doing this 9 times. Some people do believe that this gameplay loop is quite repetitive, and well, it is. The main thing that keeps this loop fresh though is the 3 different cities that you visit during these assassinations and the actual assassination missions themselves, as well as the extra gear you'll get as the game goes on to make the targets easier and will give you more options to approach each situation. In total, this basic loop of each target takes anywhere from about 30 minutes to around an hour to do each one, depending on your skill level or if you're trying to clear everything. So in reality, or should I say simulation, the entire game of the original Assassin's Creed takes about 10 to maybe 15 hours to complete. I do want to reiterate that while it is repetitive, the atmosphere and moment-to-moment gameplay of this loop is really good, and it's great to see how this formula evolved in later games. Playing through any of these assassination missions, you can really see the potential and amazing future the franchise could hold. And honestly, it does actually have its hold over quite a few of the later games. Now, if you're worried that I'm going to go through each investigation stage and minigame one by one, breathe a sigh of relief. I think we'll spend our time better by just focusing on the assassination missions themselves and talking a bit about each target and what makes their missions interesting.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
The next target is a man of the name of Garnier de la Plus, a doctor of sorts who resides in Acre. This is another new city we get to visit, with a lot of wider walkways and alleyways. The enemy presence here is clearly part of the Knights Teutonic, knights roaming around the city as its protection force. This really makes you feel like you are behind enemy lines. Seeing all these citizens being harassed, you can only imagine the oppressive regime that would continue if you allowed the corruption to spread. Garnier's assassination mission takes place inside a hospital, where he is treating patients. Treating them well, on the other hand, is another story.
Enough, my child. I asked you to retrieve the patient, not to kill him. There. Everything will be all right.
No!
Give me your hand.
Don't touch me! Not again!
Cast out this fear, else I cannot help you.
Help me? Like you helped the others? You took their souls! I saw! But not mine! No! You'll not have mine! Ah!
Take hold of yourself! Do you think this gives me pleasure? Do you think I want to hurt you? But you leave me no choice.
Every kind word matched by the back of his hand! All lies and deception! He won't be content until all bow before him!
You should not have done that. Return him to his quarters. I'll be along once I've tended to the
You
others.
can't keep me here! I'll escape again!
No, you won't. Break his legs, both of them. I am so sorry. Have you people nothing better to do?
It's clear that the help this man gives is not something that many want. What I really like about this mission is how deep within this stronghold you are and how out of depth you feel. Any strange act, breaking out of that blend, is a risk for exposure. Delirious patients walk around the hospital, pushing and shoving you if you get too close, which can risk your mission being compromised. It is a delicate balance between getting close to the doctor and avoiding detection, especially when he jumps between rooms of armed guards. But there is a break in his pattern, and that, and only that moment, is your time to strike.
Then you'll see.
Let go your burden.
Whenever you assassinate a major target, you'll enter this last words cutscene of the individual. These moments are made to almost humanize them and hear their case, hearing their true selves with their dying moments. What I find really interesting is that you can see the writers of this game are attempting to make these villains sound almost reasonable for a moment. Garnier is helping these people who need aid in a sense, people who are homeless and have nothing. So in a twisted way, he believes by keeping them here against their will, he is entitled to do what he pleases with them. He makes the argument that because these people need help, he's doing a service by taking them in and genuinely helping some of them. And because of this, the experiments he performs on them are acceptable due to his charitability. It's something that people clearly don't want. And if he has to go to the lengths of breaking his legs to keep their patients, he doesn't make a very good case for himself. You can see that these people, if perhaps they had other leaders or another influence, they could have been good men. This is really what drives Altair's questioning of his targets, and even Al-Mualim. Every target, you return to him and discuss about the killer's intentions, with Al-Mualim correcting Altair each time to reveal what the villain's true intentions were, and how no matter what, they can't be trusted.
The promise of paradise.
They think it is a garden, overflowing with women and pleasure. But I drug you as Garnier did his men, and tempt you with his rewards.
They do not know the truth of it.
Which is how it must be.
But if they knew the truth of it, that all we seek is peace,
then they would not fear us, and we would have no hold over them. Go. It is time you continued with your work. Another rank is restored to you, as is a piece of your equipment. We'll speak again when the next has fallen.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Our next target resides in Jerusalem, a slave trader by the name of Talal. Jerusalem is a beautiful city with a wide arrangement of old buildings and churches scattered throughout the city for you to climb and use as vantage points to further investigations. The man who runs the bureau here is none other than Malik, the same man who was with you during the first section of the game, in which he lost his brother and his arm in the encounter. Understandably, Malik is furious at Altair, and he uses this new power over him to speak his mind and condemn Altair for his actions, whether they help the Brotherhood or not. After finally convincing Malik that we have enough information, we find Talal inside a warehouse, preparing to depart from Jerusalem. A perfect time to strike him in an isolated location. But not all goes to plan, because in fact, this is exactly what Talal wanted, to lure the assassin hunting his comrades and him. The warehouse is a tragic sight, with people chained and crying for help, all while Talal spouts that he is helping them in some self-righteous rant. This was a planned ambush all along, and Talal thinks he has the upper hand, surrounding Altair with his men. But these men in fact don't need to be fought. You can easily rush past them and get to Talal before he escapes, resulting in a high-speed chase that does not last long.
You've nowhere to run now. Share your secrets with me.
Talal's last words are interesting. Once again, he chooses the lower class people in Jerusalem who cannot defend themselves and have nothing. He claims to be saving these people from poverty, and that Altair is a slave in his own way, blindly following the will of Al-Mualim and the creed he so loves. But we saw these men in chains, crying out and begging for help. It causes a conflicting thought in Altair, as he wants to serve the Brotherhood, but questioning the creed is what got him stuck in this situation in the first place. Could this man really be helping people who have nothing? Is he actually selling these people, or is he doing justice? Either way, the lack of freedom and profit he is getting from this goes against everything the creed stands for. This was going to happen either way, and now all Altair can really do is report his assassination and ask Al-Mualim for guidance.
God damn it! What's the problem now?
I'm getting weird temperature readings. I think the Animus is overheating.
Christ, it's always something! How long?
Too soon to tell.
These delays are unacceptable, Miss Stillman. I want progress reports every hour.
It's gonna be a while, Desmond. Why don't you go lie down or something? Get some rest.
Come in, Altair. You've done well. 3 of the 9 lay dead, and for this you have my thanks.
This next memory block gives us 3 new targets. What is great is that we can pursue any of these targets in any order. Whichever city interests you the most or target, you can pursue. It feels as though the training wheels have finally come off. We've done a bunch of investigating, some stealthy assassinations, and dealt with combat and chasing down a target once we're detected. Or lured, I should say. With most of Altair's kit back, we have more ways to approach situations, especially with the throwing knives, which are a huge help to the missions, seeing as they insta-kill any guard from a distance and even in combat. Let's continue to hunt some targets and free the Holy Land from influence.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
The Merchant King, a devious man who resides in Damas. He specializes not only in trade, but in the extortion of his fellow man and merchant alike, funneling his profits of war into his own pockets with no explanation. Luckily, the Merchant King plans a huge celebration at his palace. Upon arriving there, it's easy enough to slip in and join the celebrations, and the Merchant King graces us with his presence, and begins by complimenting the crowd, offering wine from a fountain before continuing his speech. As it goes on though, his speech turns from one of support to ridicule and ultimately revenge.
These words mean nothing to any of you, mean nothing to those infidel invaders who ravage our land in search of gold and glory. And so I say, enough! I've pledged myself to another cause, one that will bring about a new world, in which all people might live side by side in peace. A pity none of you will live to see it. Kill anyone who tries to escape.
This is another assassination mission, where doing your job stealthily is quite difficult. But honestly, that's actually quite a common theme in Assassin's Creed, and it's almost intentional. A lot of the time, these figures are in a public setting, with their closest enemies and allies alike around for all to see. Killing these important figures this way in a public setting is almost an essential part to the way the Creed operates, making sure that everyone knows that those who betray freedom and try to control will always be made an example of.
You won't have me! You won't!
Be at peace now. Their words can no longer do harm.
His last words are mainly talking about how him and Altair are more alike than they think, killing the few to save the many. Except the major difference is that the Merchant King makes a nice profit. But these targets do start to sow the seeds of doubt within Altair. If he is so willing to kill without question and to follow the orders of the Creed, is he really free, as the Creed desires everyone else to be? There's much to ponder as you run away and parkour across the streets of Damas, which honestly is my favorite city to climb around. even though the cities do have a similar look to them, the layout and color tone of each city is so different that exploring and moving around them is quite a unique experience for each zone. Reporting to Al-Mualim for these next 3 missions, discussions about the targets almost seem a bit more generic. I feel like this is maybe just the fact that you can complete them in any order, so they have these after each target conversation, so it doesn't feel too out of place. But I mean, could we have not had 3 unique dialogues pertaining to the targets and just left out the mention of how many remain and what is restored to Altair in terms of his toolkit? Seems like a slightly missed opportunity in my opinion.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Our next target resides in Acre, and is my favorite assassination in the entire game. William of Montferrat, a man serving directly under King Richard as regent of the city of Acre. This is a man who has been giving the populace a hard time through his mistreatment of both citizens and prisoners, as we come to see in his interrogation from King Richard when he comes to visit, which also doubles as a good time for a public assassination. There's something so atmospheric about hiding amongst these crowds in the original AC. Hearing these speeches from targets and the discussions from others, you can already imagine how far the series would go as technology continues to get better, resulting in bigger crowds, more crazy set pieces for assassinations, and more danger if you slip up. After King Richard's public reprimand of William, he retreats into the walls of a fortress connected to Acre. This really feels like the first proper assassination mission, a heavily guarded target with seemingly no other way in than the front. Luckily, Altair's proficiency with climbing shows us another way around the outskirts of the wall and inside the training grounds of the area where he lashes out a reprimand of his own, William that is, making an example of one of the others, so the rest will follow. If you time it right and leave him on his own, you can strike stealthily.
Rest now. Your schemes are at an end.
Once again, this target talks about how he was really saving people. By being harsh and training them, it will prepare them for war and hardship. And by starving them now and taking food, the food could be rationed out later. I do like the point that AC makes in first showing us the darkest anger and brutality of a lot of these people, and then after their assassination, their softer nature and ambitions try to come out in their last moments. No matter how twisted they are, like I said, they almost sound honorable until they continue to talk. Once again, if only William of Montferrat had a better teacher, this new world that he talks about might actually envision what they think it would.
You said the answer to my question would arise when I no longer needed to ask it. So I will not ask. I demand you tell me what binds these men.
What you say is true. These men are connected by a blood oath not unlike our own.
Who are they?
Non nobis, domine non nobis.
Templars.
Now you see the true reach of Robert de Sales.
All of these men, leaders of cities, commanders of armies.
All pledge allegiance to his cause.
Their works are not meant to be viewed on their own, are they? But as a whole, what do they desire?
Conquest. They seek the Holy Land not in the name of God, but for themselves.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Maj ad-Din is our next target, a man who has taken over Jerusalem in the wake of the War of the Crusaders. I feel as though the Jerusalem missions stand out for me most in terms of story due to the interactions between Altair and Malik at the Bureau. It's in this mission that Malik really starts to break down his anger from Altair. These missions and the punishment he's received has actually started to curb Altair's arrogance, something Malik gladly welcomes. He still of course holds his resentment, and honestly, plays a good role in helping to temper Altair. You can tell that Malik's anger does come from a place of complete annoyance with Altair, but also a place of care as he was incredibly close with him.
I am not a novice.
A man's skill is defined by his actions, not the markings on his robe.
We can trade barbs or do Al-Mualim's work. It's your decision.
Then be out with it.
Jerusalem's regent Majd ad-Din is holding a public execution not far from here. It's sure to be well guarded, but it's nothing I can't handle. I know what to do.
And that is why you remain a novice in my eyes. You cannot know anything, only suspect. You must expect to be wrong, to have overlooked something. Anticipate, Altair. How many times must I remind you of this?
As you wish.
This assassination has an extra layer. Mujahideen is holding a public execution, with one of them being a fellow assassin. We have to save them before they're made an example of, something they are definitely going to try to do, as Mujahideen spouts a very hypocritical speech about others trying to control the populace, that they must not be allowed to infiltrate their cities. I was going to attempt to make an example of him and assassinate him from a separate point stealthily, but unfortunately, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and one man revealed me to the entire group. This definitely can happen in many of the missions and submissions for investigations, which is why you really need to keep a proper eye out. But having to improvise on the fly and fighting our way to the target can also be fun, especially when the combat is so simple and satisfying like it is in the original game. Doing larger fights like this when there is a big group of people, you definitely do feel a bit of the jank with the fighting system itself, but I think just having the abilities to take enemies out quickly and to counter pretty much anything just shows how good Altair is at combat, which I think the game is trying to portray, rather than just keeping it easy and simple just because.
Your work here is finished.
No! It had only just begun!
Unlike the other targets, Mujahideen doesn't try to excuse his actions. He doubles down and wears them proudly, admitting he really desired one thing and one thing only: power. Power and the right to rule above everyone else. Altair relates. In a way, he thought he was above the creed, but he's learned his lesson and shares that with this man.
Power!
Once perhaps. But then I learned what becomes of those who lift themselves above others.
And what is that?
Here, let me show you.
With some words from Malik that almost border on praise, we finish this mission and leave the Animus to learn that the assassins in the modern day are coming for Desmond to save him.
Who's coming for me?
Assassins.
Hey, I had nothing to do with this.
Sounds like they're mounting some kind of rescue attempt. Guess you're more important than you realized.
Man, things just keep getting weirder and weirder around here.
It was bound to happen.
What do you mean?
That little fight your ancestors started during the Third Crusade, it never ended. You're being held by Templars.
Vidic's a Templar?
There's no way you could have known. They hide it so well. But to answer your question, Vidic works for them. We all do. Abstergo is their company.
I thought Templars were old dudes with funny hats who sat around drinking beer and plotting world domination with, like, the lizard people.
No, except the part about world domination, I guess. Look, Desmond, it's complicated. Half the stuff they say about the Templars comes from crazy tinfoil hat-wearing nut jobs. The other half is misinformation intentionally produced by the Templars themselves.
But they are the bad guys, right?
If there's one thing I've learned since I started working here, it's that there's no such thing. It's all so relative. I guess the best way to explain it is, what they want is good. But the way they're going about it, it's bad. Really bad.
What are they trying to do? Lucy.
This also summarized very well the general gist of the Templars. We've seen this train of thought through a lot of Altair's targets as well, and it becomes more clear as to why Desmond is being held against his will. These Templars want something from his ancestors, presumably that artifact that was recovered right at the beginning of the game by Malik. There's still 3 targets left, with more answers and questions to follow.
To answer.
The merchant king of Damas murdered the nobles who ruled his city. Mejduddin in Jerusalem used fear to force his people into submission. I suspect William meant to murder Richard and hold Akka with his troops. These men were meant to aid their leaders. Instead, they chose to betray them. What I do not understand is why.
Is the answer not obvious? The Templars desire control. Each man, as you've noted, wanted to claim their cities in the Templar name, that the Templars themselves might rule the Holy Land and eventually beyond. But they cannot succeed in their mission.
Why is that?
Their plans depend upon the Templar treasure, the Peace of Eden. But we hold it now, and they cannot hope to achieve their goals without it.
What is this treasure?
It is temptation.
Fast-forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Next target, Jubair, commits a most heinous crime. He aims to destroy the knowledge that has been passed down through the generations by destroying catalogs of old books. He goes on about how these books make you less reliant on yourself, and over-reliance on them makes you weaker and makes you question the world less. I guess Jubair has never heard the phrase, "Those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it." But I guess that quote wasn't heard for another few hundred years. This is definitely one of the most unique assassinations in the game, mainly due to the fact that Jubair has the same look as multiple of the scholars that are also burning books. This makes it hard to narrow down the real Jubair, resulting in multiple assassinations of multiple targets in one mission. These targets are also all guarded, meaning whenever you take one out, you're most likely going to be running and trying to escape. And if you can't lose them, you may end up going for a Hail Mary, just brute forcing your way through a few of them to get to the supposed target. This is one of those missions where you can definitely take your time and do it slowly to avoid too much heat on Altair. I was unfortunate enough to save the real target to last and got to have a dramatic chase through the streets to hunt him down, which resulted in a massive clash between Altair, Jubair, and his guards.
Why have you done this?
In Jubair's final moments, he discusses how old books are the reason for this war between the Crusaders and Saladin, and this is the reason why old knowledge is dangerous. But once again, why is this for him to decide? People should always be free to choose their own path, along with the consequences that follow, but I guess that's what he did in the end.
Before you go, I have a question for you.
Of course.
What is the truth?
We place faith in ourselves. We see the world the way it really is, and hope that one day all mankind might see the same.
What is the world, then?
An illusion. One which we can either submit to, as most do, or transcend.
What is it to transcend?
To recognize nothing is true and everything is permitted. That laws arise not from divinity but reason. I understand now that our creed does not command us to be free. It commands us to be wise.
Do you see now why the Templars are a threat?
Whereas we would dispel the illusion, they would use it to rule.
Yes, to reshape the world in an image more pleasing to them. That is why I sent you to steal their treasure. That is why I keep it locked away. And that is why you kill them. So long as even one survives, so too does their desire to create a new world order. Take your equipment. Seek out this last man. With his death, Robert de Sable will at last be vulnerable.
It will be done.
Fast-forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Our second last target before Altair's full status is restored is the leader of the Knights Teutonic, Sabrand. This particular target shows how much influence Altair is having over the operations within these three cities. We're also seeing apologies towards Altair from a lot of the headmasters and other members of the Creed, because he has shown how willing he is to take everything on the chin and take out these targets for the Brotherhood, with his replies also being quite humble. I know I haven't displayed it much, but these interactions between the Bureau headmasters and Altair do actually show quite a decent amount of Altair's growth, as well as his reputation within the Creed changing as the game goes on. When he first approaches them, he's quite arrogant, frustrated almost in their lack of trust in him. But as the game goes on and he begins to understand that nothing is true and everything is permitted, he is not above anything. The headmasters also take note of this, not only through Altair's words, but his actions especially. These conversations, while short, say a lot. Continuing on to the assassination mission itself, we find Sabrand at the docks, having what seems to be a almost manic episode as he interrogates a poor innocent monk, accusing him of being an assassin.
Will none of you come forward to stop this? He is clearly poisoned by his own fear, compelled to see enemies where none exist.
Seems the people share my concern. What I do for Arkren! Stay vigilant, men. Report any suspicious activity to the guard. I doubt we've seen the last of these assassins. Persistent bastards! Now get back to work.
He quickly takes off across the pier towards his boat, with us being forced along with the big crowd to avoid suspicion. This is another great mission, as it showcases more of the parkour system through the boats. I want to reiterate again how great the parkour system is in this game despite its initial clunkiness. Having the freedom to create your own optimal path with routes and timing is seriously so satisfying. After a short climb through the docks, we arrive on Sabrand's ship and assassinate him.
Please, don't do this.
You are afraid.
Sabrand ultimately seemed to be scared of death. His knowledge and his life lived causes him to believe that there is nothing. He had planned to create a blockade against his own king in order to stop him from getting to the Holy Land. This is probably my second favorite mission in the game and really showcases the great aspects of the gameplay loop in AC1, especially during the escape section with a big focus on parkour.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
At last, our final target is here, and it is of course Robert de Sable, the man who we found looking for the artifact, who took everything away from Altair, but in a way, made him a better man. This is the point of ultimate redemption. He's the leader of the Templar Order. He resides in Jerusalem and plans to attend a funeral. It is here that we plan to strike. And Altair discusses his plan with Malik, a man who had gone from despising Altair to seeing how far he has come, leading to a touching moment between the two before the assassination.
Fortune favor your blade, brother.
Malik, before I go, there's something I should say.
Be out with it.
I've been a fool.
Normally I'd make no argument, but what is this? What are you talking about?
All this time, I never told you I was sorry. Too damn proud. You lost your arm because of me. Lost Qadar. You had every right to be angry.
I do not accept your apology.
I understand.
No, you don't. I do not accept your apology because you are not the same man who went with me into Solomon's temple. And so you have nothing to apologize for.
Malik.
Perhaps if I had not been so envious of you, I would not have been so careless myself. I'm just as much to blame.
Don't say such things.
We are one. As we share the glory of our victories, so too should we share the pain of our defeat. In this way, we grow closer. We grow stronger.
Thank you, brother.
Rest if you need to, Altair, that you might be ready for what lies ahead.
Upon arrival at the funeral, we see our target. But let's be real here. It's quite obvious that it's not him. The doubt really begins to set in. Our fears are confirmed when we learn that this funeral wasn't even to honor their fallen comrade, but a trap to lure Altair in order to finish him off. Luckily, Altair is quite skilled and manages to fight through the ambush and takes out the supposed target, who is revealed to be a woman, confirming that this was a trap. Robert, thinking he's in the clear, rides to Arsuf, where King Richard is, and plans to make a case for the Crusaders and Templars to join up due to the amount of damage the assassins have caused to their influence within the Holy Land. They could unite against the common enemy, as Altair has killed both Templars and Crusaders as targets. With the threat on their doorsteps, and the absolute obedience required from Al-Mualim, something isn't adding up. Nevertheless, before he receives the true answers from his master, Altair rides for Arsuf to confront his final target, who is currently in the midst of a huge battle.
Fast forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Come no further.
Hold a moment. It's words I bring, not steel.
Offering terms of surrender then? It's about time.
You misunderstand. It's Al-Mualim who sends me, not Saladin.
Assassin! What is the meaning of this? And be quick with it!
You've a traitor in your midst.
And he has hired you to kill me? Come to gloat about it before you strike? I wouldn't be taken so easily!
It's not you I've come to kill. It's him.
Speak then! That I may judge the truth! Who is this traitor?
Robert de Sable.
My lieutenant!
He aims to betray.
That's not the way he tells it. He seeks revenge against your people for the havoc you've wrought in Acre. And and I am inclined to support him. Some of my best men were murdered by some of yours.
It was I who killed them, and for good reason. Hear me out. William of Montferrat. He sought to use his soldiers to take Acre by force. Gagné de Naplouse. He would use his skills to indoctrinate and control any who resisted. Sabrand. He intended to block the ports, preventing your kingdom from providing aid. They betrayed you, and they took their orders from Robert.
Is this true?
My liege, it is an assassin that stands before us. These creatures are masters of manipulation. Of course it isn't true. Surely you do not believe him?
It is a difficult decision, one I cannot make alone. I must leave it in the hands of one wiser than I.
Thank you.
No, Robert, not you.
Then who?
The Lord. Let this be decided by combat. Surely God will side with the one whose cause is righteous.
If this is what you wish.
It is.
So be it. To arms, assassin! The time for games is ended.
It's done then. Your schemes, like you, are put to rest.
You know nothing of schemes. You're but a puppet. He betrayed you, boy. Just as he betrayed me.
Speak sense, Templar. Or not at all.
9 men he sent you to kill, yes? The 9 who guarded the treasure's secret.
What of it?
It wasn't 9 who found the treasure, assassin. Not 9, but 10.
A 10th? None may live who carry the secret. Give me his name.
Oh, but you know him well. And I doubt very much you'd take his life as willingly as you've taken mine.
Who?
It is your master, Al-Mualim.
But he is not a Templar.
Did you never wonder how it is he knew so much? Where to find us, how many we numbered, what we aspired to attain?
He is the master of the assassins.
Oui, master of lies. You and I just 2 more pawns in his grand game. And now, with my death, only you remain. Do you think he'll let you live, knowing what you do?
This is such a crazy plot twist. Al-Mualim was originally part of the Templar Order. He wanted the power for himself, and in order to keep it, he sent Altair to tie up all of the loose ends. Altair thought he was fighting to regain his status, to rejoin the Creed and gain everyone's respect. But in reality, he was just a pawn in Al-Mualim's game. But a plan happened that he did not expect. Altair grew not only in skill, but in his person, as an assassin and a man of value. There is a poison now at the heart of the Creed, and it's up to Altair to remove it and stop him from using this huge, devastating instrument of power against the world.
Get up, goddammit! Listen!
Oh no.
Seems your assassin friends found us.
What?
How'd you do it, Desmond?
Hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever's going on down there has got nothing to do with me.
They're here for you, and I sure as shit didn't invite them. What's the situation down there?
We're taking heavy fire.
Can you contain it? Or do I need to evacuate the prisoner?
Only 5 or 6. We've got them outnumbered. Couple of wounded, but we'll pull through. We'll get it under control.
God damn you, Desmond. You couldn't leave well enough alone.
I told you I had nothing to do with this. How would I even contact them? Telepathy? Come on.
Doesn't matter. They'll be dead soon enough. Here, have a listen.
That's been neutralized.
Looks like the cavalry won't be coming.
Dunno, Doc. We're freaking out a minute ago. Your little research facility not as secure as you thought it was? Worried they'll be back with more?
I don't think so, Desmond.
What Lucy here is trying to say is that there aren't any assassins left to come for you. We've been very busy this past year, hunting down your little enclaves, your desert communes and whatnot. I'm afraid you're on your own. Rest up, Mr. Miles. Tomorrow, we finish this.
Fast-forwarding memory to a more recent one.
Upon returning to Masyaf, this place seems incredibly off. The people of the town seem almost possessed. They continue to talk about the power of their master and how he has led everyone to the light. The town is dull, with villagers seeming walking around without purpose, spouting drivel about the great Al-Mualim. In order to get to him, we are forced to kill our brethren who we fought so hard for. We fought not only for them, but also to gain their trust and respect again. In an instant, Al-Mualim has made them mindless and devoid of freedom, except for a few. Luckily, Malik arrived to save us in time.
Altair! Up here!
You picked a fine time to arrive.
So it seems.
Guard yourself well, friend. Al-Mualim has betrayed us.
Yes. Betrayed his Templar allies as well.
How do you know?
After we spoke, I returned to the ruins beneath Solomon's temple. Robert had kept a journal, filled its pages with revelations. What I read there broke my heart. But it also opened my eyes. You were right, Altair. All along our master has used us. We were not meant to save the Holy Land, but deliver it to him. He must be stopped.
Now we learn the truth about the artifact and Al-Mualim as we approach the headquarters. It's bizarre to see all these people staring at you. It creates an incredibly unnerving atmosphere, as if they could strike you all at once. Luckily, we pass unscathed and arrive finally to confront the true mastermind behind everything that's happened in the Holy War.
No! What's happening?
So, the student returns.
I've never been one to run.
Never been one to listen either.
I still live because of it.
What will I do with you?
Let me go.
Oh, Altair. I hear the hatred in your voice. Feel its heat. Let you go? Well, that would be unwise.
Why are you doing this?
I found proof.
Proof of what?
That nothing is true. And everything is permitted. Come. Destroy the betrayer. Send him from this world.
Al-Mualim forces us to confront our own actions in a 9v1 fight against our targets that he summons using the artifact. This is an incredibly cool fight thematically, and shows Altair's strength. Being able to take on all of these strong opponents at once shows his growth. Al-Mualim continues to use this tactic, summoning copies of himself to fight instead. And through these, we must find the real one.
Have you any final words?
You lied to me. Called Robert's goal foul when all along it was yours as well.
I've never been much good at sharing.
You won't succeed. Others will find the strength to stand against you.
And this is why, so long as men maintain free will, there can be no peace.
I killed the last man who spoke as such.
Bold words, boy. But just words.
Then let me go. I'll put words into action.
You will not follow me, and I cannot compel you.
And you refuse to give up this evil scheme.
It seems then we are at an impasse.
No, we are at an end.
I will miss you, Altair. You were my very best student.
In this final section of the fight, you cannot tell what is simulation or reality as the animus begins to break. We are unable to kill him with this sword when he constantly appears and reappears. But there is another way. One weapon heavily tied to the creed, which everyone wields. One which Al-Mualim will underestimate. The Hidden Blade.
Impossible. The student does not defeat the teacher.
الشيء واقع مطلق بل كل ممكن.
So it seems. You have won then. Go and claim your prize.
You held fire in your hand, old man. It should have been destroyed.
Destroy the only thing capable of ending the Crusades and creating true peace? Never.
Then I will.
We'll see about that. I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also was a chasing after wind, for in much wisdom is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge, increaseth sorrow. Destroy it! Destroy it as you said you would.
This piece of Eden not only creates illusions, but spawns a map. This map shows different points on the globe, showing half a dozen locations that seem to be of interest to the Templars. We can only assume it's other powerful artifacts. These could let the Templars finally achieve their new world. This is what the Templars in the modern day were looking for, why they kidnapped Desmond in the first place. They knew Altair came into contact with this map, tracked down his ancestor, and used the genetic data to find it. But something else has happened with Desmond. He seems to have unlocked part of the powers of his ancestor, the power of Eagle Vision, which reveals mysterious writings across the entire room.
What the hell is that? Oh my God. Looks like... is that blood? The hell were they keeping here before me? And what happened to him? What does it mean, I wonder?
And that is the entirety of the Assassin's Creed 1 story. It ends on a very ominous cliffhanger, with Desmond's work seemingly only beginning. It sets a great expectation for the next game, just wondering what these symbols mean, how they're going to play into the sequel. The original game, in my opinion, is the perfect prototype for a game. You can see the amazing ideas and concepts shining through, the possibilities that could happen if these ideas were taken to greater heights. Thinking of all the different time periods this could be put in, the advancement in parkour that we could get, the more fleshed out weapons and combat system, it really only goes up from here. Altair himself as well is a very interesting character. The modern day story, while sparse, sets everything up, and the concept of the Animus, Templars, and Assassin's Creed is a really cool concept for a whole franchise. We luckily have many sequels, and we got to see how the base of this game was improved upon, especially in the Ezio trilogy of games. When games take huge risks like this, it can pay off and affects not only the direct sequels and the company, but the whole genre of games itself. Look at how many open world games have a lot of similar mechanics to the AC series. Towers to climb to give you a good look of the land, forts and assassination style missions. This is exactly what games should do for each other. While the original Assassin's Creed may not be as highly played or as great to go back to compared to its counterparts, seeing the original framework for so many other great games is something that is so valuable, and just going back and playing this for me personally was just amazing to see how far gaming has come, as well as how far the series has come, and how great the original game still holds up, honestly. Even though in today's era, Assassin's Creed games are a bit of a hot topic for a debate, you can't deny that the original games are really something special, which is why there's so many passionate fans about the series. Let's hope that one day, Ubisoft will draw more inspiration from the original AC. We've seen it with Mirage. Even though it was originally a Valhalla DLC, you can see the developers of this particular game really tried to go back to the roots, and you can see that there's potential for it to go back a bit further beyond that. Let's hope that Ubisoft sees this and goes all in on a new engine, old style game, because really, that's what the hardcore fans want. And if they keep losing their way, they need to remember that they can always go back to the perfect prototype. That's all for now, my friends. But until then, safety and peace be upon you, And remember that nothing is true and everything is permitted. Oh, and before I go, I gotta remind you to keep shredding. See ya!